What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to ask the question if Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man should be the one to bring in Miles Morales as well as mentor him. So, obviously, you have a couple options. It's more than just one, but no, this is something that obviously came out of No Way Home, and, I want to talk a little bit about the setup even in No Way Home, right? It's pretty clear that even going back to Spider-Man Homecoming, right, that the idea of Miles was always, in their heads, and that they were going to drop maybe subtle hints and then one day eventually bring him in, okay? Now, 3 got about as close as you can get with the Electro to Andrew Garfield, talking about, Black Spider-Man, and it's about as close, as you can get to introducing, I guess, in this part of the game, Miles. Now, the thing is, right, that could have been, that conversation, I think, does carry weight because the question is, well, why exactly did you have that conversation? Now, the biggest reason why that dialogue existed, I think, is to just, again, reaffirm that, Miles is there or will be there, something like that. So that, I think, was the main point. But a secondary thing, and again, this is something that maybe they know or maybe they didn't know and they're just kind of floating it out there, or maybe it's just a connection that us fans are making, is that Andrew's Spider-Man, in my opinion, is the best one, I think, to bring him in and to mentor him. Tobey is definitely the more mentor character, okay? But I just don't know what we would say. I mean, we've talked a lot about rumors of, who's returning and for what and when, and it doesn't seem like Tobey's ever gonna, like Spider-Man 4 with him would be incredible, okay? But I don't think it's going to happen. And if he appears in like Secret Wars or something, I just don't think you would have him for enough time. I think you would literally need a solo movie. You need a movie with one of these characters, and that movie, part of it, or maybe even a large part of it, would be the purpose of it would be to bring Miles in. So Tobey, I just don't think you're ever gonna get that option. You know what I mean? For Andrew, I think it's definitely more possible. Again, I don't know if the Amazing Spider-Man 3 will happen. Obviously, the internet is going to try as hard as it can, and I'm all for it, and I'm going to be a part of it as much as I can. But I don't know how likely it is, but I would say it's definitely more likely than Tobey Maguire. So Andrew, to me, makes the most sense. He's the middle-aged of the 3 of them, right? So he's definitely older, but he's not. I guess the reason why he also makes more sense is kind of the reverse of Tom. So, I mean, Tom Holland is awesome. And again, I think he solidified his place as an incredible Spider-Man, specifically in No Way Home. Now, I've always liked him, but I think he absolutely killed it in this movie. The thing with him, though, is I don't know if you'll ever be able to get over his age. Obviously, he's going to age just like anybody would, but like how he looks, like he always looks young. So although he's 25, and yeah, I mean, maybe when he's like 27, 28, 29, maybe he'd be old enough to, maybe Spider-Man 5, you would introduce like Miles to it. It definitely is possible. And I think, the kind of personality he has, I actually think it jives with him a lot. Honestly, almost equal to Andrew Garfield. However, again, I think in order to do that, you'd have to wait quite a while. Now, maybe the plan is to wait quite a while. We don't really know how. We don't know when 4 would happen for, Tom Holland. We don't know if an Amazing Spider-Man 3 with Andrew Garfield would happen. We don't know if, Miles would even want to, or they would want to bring Miles in because, there has to be some sort of grand plan for it, right? Maybe you do Venom first, right? Or Venom versus Andrew, and then the black, like the actual symbiote stays because of the ending of No Way Home, and it does something to Tom. So, like, you could do that first and then do Miles. So, there's a lot of possibilities, right? But I guess my reasoning is if you wanted to do it sooner rather than later, like if you wanted to do it in the next like 2 to 4 years, I think Andrews would make a lot of sense. Even if you wanted to do both, if you wanted to have Venom be transported back to his universe, which let's say is Andrews, right? And then you have Tom Hardy's Venom versus, Andrew Garfield, and then that movie also. Now, you gotta be careful. These too many things in one movie, obviously, it can backfire, but No Way Home did it fine, right? So you could have that, and then you could also have Miles coming in at the same time and have Andrew be, mentoring him. I think it makes a lot of sense for his character because, again, I think, again, neither of them I think are as mentor-like as like a Tobey Maguire, but that's almost like a cop-out, right? Like any version that we've ever seen Miles in, like you're going to get a somewhat different Spider-Man character, you know what I mean? So it's not really fair, I would say, to even say that. So they're not like what you would envision a mentor like Tobey would be, but they're still mentor characters. And even in a way, like Tom, I think, has definitely gone through more now, specifically in No Way Home. I would argue, at least emotionally or like family loss wise, more than either of the other two. So maybe he would actually be, the best one to do. I did a poll on Twitter and it was very split. I think it was like 38% Andrew, 36% Tom, and then Tobey was like 26 or something. So Tom and Andrew were very, very closely, like they were almost tied on the poll that I did. So I think that, it's debatable. I think Andrew makes sense. For maybe it's just because we're like so excited of like the potential for him to get future things, but at the same time, Tom honestly does make sense too. I think he just needs to go a little bit more. Not that he needs to like experience any more of life, because I think he's experienced plenty to be able to pass like wisdom down, okay? Specifically after No Way Home. I mean, he's got a lot to teach other people. But I also just think because of his age and also I think because the optics of it, right? Like, because you'd be going into like a Spider-Man 4 and it would be the start of a new trilogy. And those are all things we know, right? And you have to like solve the MJ stuff. And again, like you have like the Venom aspect there too. So like that seems to be up next, whereas the Miles thing was like it was a name drop without it being a name drop, so it's maybe not as soon as people may think it is. You know what I mean? Maybe it's like a 5, 6, 7 year thing down the line, and that makes more sense, right? Tom would then be closer to 30. He said before he doesn't want to do Spider-Man past 30, although other times he said he wants to do Spider-Man till he dies, so kind of depends on what day you're listening to him on. But, that would make more sense. He'd be closer to like 30, 31, 32. He'd go through Spider-Man 4, whatever that is. He'd develop the relationship with MJ again. I mean, right now, he's completely alone, completely like with nobody. I think you gotta patch that up just a little bit. Work on the MJ part to it, because you left that, and obviously that's going to be a major plot point going forward, and then you have the Venom plot point. So there's other stuff, and maybe you could do Craven, right? There's other stuff you can do besides Miles. So I would personally say Andrew if you wanted to do it right now, but if you're waiting like 5 to 7 years to do this, I think Tom actually makes a lot of sense. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on so you know when all these videos go up. I got a couple other Spider-Man ideas in my head, and obviously anything regarding Spider-Man I'll be sure to cover news-wise. If you want to follow me over on Twitter or subscribe to my second channel or support us on Patreon or YouTube memberships, links for them all are in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next video.